Fred Free Radio, this is Chiara Nicoletti. Today I'm with Joshua Oppenheimer, director of The End. So, while watching the film, I kept thinking about this Latin sentence, mors tua vita mea, your death, my life. As I felt the film was a very poignant and effective depiction of the process of dehumanization we're experiencing right now. Is this what the film is about, or what is also about?
I think that's a beautiful point. It's, I think, about dehumanization, but it's also about rehumanization. And that's where the hope lies. Maybe the film ends tragically, but I think for when the girl arrives into the bunker and she brings with her the gift of of honesty, and that requires being able to admit her own remorse without shame. The difference between remorse and shame. Remorse is a feeling in your heart. Shame is a concern with how you look in the eyes of others. That rehumanizes everybody in the bunker until it doesn't anymore. But even if things end tragically in the film, because they must, because it is the end, it's the last family, the gift she brings mirrors, I think, the gaze of the camera toward these broken and sad people. So my work is always about rehumanizing the people that we would be tempted to dismiss as monsters, to remind us, no, they're not monsters. They're human, and their patterns of dysfunctional, destructive behavior are familiar to each and every one of us. So these characters are nameless because they are us.
Yeah, in a way, there's another sentence that is being repeated, keeps repeating in the film. They all say at one point, "I had no choice, you had no choice," and I felt that it's a lie. I mean,
I think it's a lie. Yeah, it's a lie. We have. It's an excuse, and I think the film is about how we undermine our capacity to change, even when we know we're heading straight towards catastrophe. We undermine our capacity to change course when we make excuses for our present trajectory, for our present destructive behavior, and we undermine our capacity to love, because as we become more and more guilty, we impose those lies on everyone close to us until we can't. Every relationship which should be meaningful and sustain us becomes a kind of minefield of no-go areas. We can't talk about this. We can't talk about what I did there. We can't talk about what you did then. And then our relationships become hollow, and our ability to lead loving, meaningful lives become hollow. And the same can be said of our relationship to the broader human community, beyond our families, to our communities, to our countries, to the whole world. We have only one chance to make meaningful lives, and we can only do it together and in solidarity and with the widest possible compassion.
I have to say that the musical element felt a bit in contrast for me all the time, and there were moments in which I felt it served to express, hidden emotions or memories sometimes, but at the same time, it felt like I pitched, especially when it was with Tilda Swinton, almost like a cry. And I wanted to know more about how you felt the musical served you.
Well, the songs, there's two types of songs, and I think you're perceptive to note that. There's songs of immense longing, which are honest and heartfelt, and then there's songs where the characters are desperately struggling to convince themselves of the lies that allow them to continue going and that justify the things that they've done for which they feel the most guilt. And as they sing, as they struggle to convince themselves, they often fail. Those lies often start to unravel as they're singing. And they hit a wall where they can't sing anymore, where in a kind of moment of shame or just desperation, because they're the raft of lies they're trying to cobble together through songs is sort of splintering in the tempest of their guilt. They just are frozen, and the silence screams through, and it's in those moments that the real truth screams through. So contrary to the kind of cliche about musicals, that the music holds the truth and the deepest truth, here the music often holds the lies, and then the truth screams through in the silence. And that, once I realized that about the film, it was clear that there would be nothing more pure and vulnerable, and therefore beautiful in my mind, than the honest voice of these characters in crisis, which meant no voice doubles, no post-syncing, it's all no dubbing, it's all the live vocals. And Tilda's character mother is so tightly controlled. All of her costumes have these tight collars. It's like she's choking. So it was, of course, something we explored, that she should have this high, reedy voice. It was absolutely a choice. And whereas Moses Ingram has this beautiful, rich, sort of honeyed voice, and Brona has the gorgeous Brona Gallagher voice, and so on.
Grazie. Thank you
Prego,
so much.
grazie a voi.
And we've been talking to Joshua Oppenheimer, director of The End, and this is Chiara Nicoletti for Fred, the Festival Insider.